guys, so I'm back with a new video and let's talk about Mr. Mercedes. So I'm back with my book versus series slash movie. This time to talk to you about Mr. Mercedes. I've talked to you about the show when I did my best of Stephen King adaptations, best of Stephen King things. I'll leave it up here, and I'll also leave it up here my playlist of all the Stephen King videos that I have, movies, TV shows, books, all that stuff. So yeah, it's another edition, and this time I'm here to talk to you about Mr. Mercedes. I'm only covering the first book and comparing it to the first season because the first season covers the whole first book, and then I'll cover the other books in next videos because it's a trilogy. The series also has 3 seasons, so yeah, I'm going to do that, at least I plan on. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments, and yeah, let's talk about the book and the TV show. First of all, I have to tell you that I did watch the series before I read the book, so this is going to be a bit different. Usually I read the books and then I compare it to the movie or the TV show. I did that with Doctor Sleep and with The Outsider, but in this case I watched the TV show first, so I'm going to try to have the book in mind first, but because I did watch the TV show first, most of the stuff that happened here I was imagining it as it was in the show, like the houses and the characters, so I can't really comment on that because I was imagining the actors that they chose, but the events, those are other things, so I'll get into that. I have to say that this is probably the most accurate adaptation that I've ever seen out of all the books that I've read that turned into a TV show or turned into a movie. This one, at least the first season, I'm only talking about the first season, it is basically exactly like it is in the book. And I did read some reviews of the show that said that, and that's why I really wanted to read the books, because I really liked the show and it did not disappoint me one bit. And if you don't know either what the book or the show is about, it's basically about a psychopathic killer that drives over a bunch of people with a stolen Mercedes, and then years later he contacts the detective that was in charge of his case, the detective who's now retired, and he starts sending him some mysterious messages, and the detective decides to keep on with his investigation unofficially, like he's not a police officer anymore. So yeah, there's that. As for an overall view of the book comparing to the show, as I've mentioned before, I was really pleasantly surprised because the dialogue, for example, there's some dialogue in the show that is exactly like it is written in the book, which I loved, and I don't know why movies don't do that often because it's in here, so why would you make up your own dialogue? So yeah, I love that. However, in the show, some characters are more explored. For example, Lou Linklater in the show, which, by the way, in the book, she has a different name. She's called Freddie. I never understand why they change names, but okay. But yeah, her character is a lot more fleshed out in the show, which, to be honest, she barely is in the book, and I really liked her in the show, so I'm happy with that change. And yeah, as I said before, basically all the events in the book up until the end, the final act, are basically the same. So yeah, let's dive into some specific stuff now. I like to start with the positives. Not that there's a lot of negatives in this, to be honest, but the positives. As I said before, the chain of events throughout the first part up until the end is exactly the same. Like, the opening scene is so good. It's exactly like it is in the book, and with the same dialogue as I was mentioning. Then there's the letter that Brady sends to Hodges that is also exactly the same. Like, the letter that is written in here is written in the show. So yeah, I really like that. Oh, by the way, needless to say that this is going to have like a lot of spoilers, both from the book and the show. So if you don't want to know anything about it, probably shouldn't be watching this video, because I'm really going to dive into all the events. Back to what I was saying. So after he receives the letter, Hodges goes to have lunch with Pete, and that is exactly the same. Hodges contacting Janie and then sleeping with her is also the same. Janie and Olivia's mother dying after she talks with Hodges also happens both in the show and the book, as does Brady wanting to kill Jerome's dog, although that thing changed a bit, but I'll get into that later. Then there's Brady's mother dying, which is a big part of the show. Like, I was so shocked when I watched that scene, but that is exactly like it is in the book, so I was shocked. And then Brady exploding Hodges' car with Janie in there, and Janie dying. That was also pretty shocking. And lastly, Hodges meeting Ollie and Holly and Jerome teaming up with Hodges to figure out this whole thing and who the Mercedes killer is. Then that's when they start changing some stuff, like in their final act, like I was saying. So let's talk about what they changed. As I mentioned before, they changed Lou's character. She's Lou in the show, but in the book she's named Freddie. There's also Ida that they added to the show. She isn't in the book, and I really liked Ida in the show. She's one of my favorite characters in the show, but I didn't really notice her not being in the book, so I understand why they added her in the show, but I like the book anyway without her, so yeah. Then a few little things that they changed before getting into the final act. One, when Brady goes to buy the poison in the show, he ends up not buying it because of the cash register man being a previous teacher of his and recognizing him, so he dumps the poison, leaves it behind in the store. But in the book there's no teacher and he buys the poison. The poison meat thing is slightly different in the show. He puts it away in the refrigerator because of the cops that knock on his door, but in the show he has like a mini fridge on the garage and he puts it there. But yeah, his mom still goes there and cooks the meat and she dies. The Janie car blowing up scene is also a bit different, because Hodges and Ollie aren't waiting for her like it is in the show. In the book, Hodges goes with Holly and Aunt Charlotte in their car, and Janie is driving Hodges' car, so that is why she is killed. And then there's when they start changing a lot more stuff. One, Brady goes into a motel in the book, and he never does that in the show. In the show, Pete Huntley, Hodges' former partner, knows a lot more, and the police is a lot more involved with what Hodges is doing in the show. In the book, the police don't know basically anything, and they don't come into the story up until the end. Like, Pete is there sometimes, but basically only talking on the phone with Hodges and not about the Mercedes killer, like only in their restaurant scene in the beginning. So yeah, police is a lot more present in the show. Also, when Audience and Jerome find out that Brady is the Mercedes killer, they see a pic of him online, and from what I remember, I might be wrong, some of this stuff I'm not 100% sure how it is in the show, because I've watched it a few months ago, but yeah, they never see a pic of Brady online, and they go directly into the store where he works at, and they go with Pete, so that's a big change. Also, in the book, Odges and Ollie and Jerome, they break into Brady's house and find his mother dead, and in the show that never happens. He makes up like a trap when the police is about to catch him, and he fakes a suicide. Personally, I think I like the show version better. It creates a lot more tension, but it was fine the way it was in the book. But I get it. Then the very end is slightly different. Brady does disguise himself the same way, with a wheelchair, him being bald and glasses and a bomb. But instead of going to the art gallery thing, art fair, like it is in the show, in the book he goes to a teens concert. In the book, Ollie, Odges and Jerome go to Brady's control room, while in the show that never happens. They don't know anything about it. I think they only find it after the explosion, after the fake suicide, but they never go into his computers or anything. And in the very end, Odges does have a heart attack in the book as well as in the show. Ollie is also the one that attacks Brady, so I like that, because the way it was in the show, it was pretty good, and I was afraid they wouldn't give Holly the power in the book. And yeah, I like that it was exactly the same. But as I said, all that happens during the concert, and Ollie in the show hits him with the dog statue, while in the book she hits him with a happy slapper. Yeah, and then the book ends actually with Brady waking up after 17 months. I don't know if that is how it happens in the show. I think it takes a bit longer for him to wake up, but that is how this book ends. And yeah, that's basically it. As I said, not a lot of things were changed. All the things that I mentioned here are like just me being really picky and really getting really deep into the analysis, and like really putting the book against the first season head to head, like really telling you every little thing that they changed. Probably I missed some things, but overall the TV show is exactly like the book. So if you liked the book, you will not be disappointed with the TV show. And if you like the TV show, I highly recommend you read the book, because that's what I did, and I still loved the book, like top 5 Stephen King books, even after watching the show and knowing everything that was going to happen. So either way, you will not be disappointed, at least first season. I'm not saying that the others are as good as the first one and as similar to the book, but yeah, I highly recommend the show anyway, and I'll get into the comparison of the other seasons once I read those books. So yeah guys, let me know what you thought of the video. If you've read the book, if you've watched the TV show, what do you think of both of the one that you've read or you've watched? So yeah, and yeah, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and I'll see you in my next video.